Rolling.
All right, welcome old family and new family to BoomBappED, capital ED. This is your co-host with the most, Brother Brandon White, a.k.a. Bushido Garvey.
What's up, Rochester? This is Atlas coming at you on the mix and behind the mic.
Yes, as per usual. And guess what, y'all? Of course, as per usual, we have Brother Rob Lowe on the tech. And ladies and gentlemen, we have this awesome opportunity to speak with this awesome band, meet with some awesome and talk with some awesome folk. We have Redbeard Samurai. Is that how y'all identify as a collective? I just want to make sure I get that right.
Well,
I probably should ask that before we even got on air.
That's great. That's fine. Well, technically, the way I always think about it is like I'm Redbeard Samurai, and then the band is the JB Dojo.
JB Dojo. That's pretty dope.
Or just the Dojo.
Indeed. Would you guys like to introduce your names, individual names, real fast?
I'm Blake Pattengale. I'm the rapper, MC, producer guy.
I'm Nick Crane. I play trombone in the band.
And Max Greenberg on the keys.
Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. For those who don't know but want to know, BoomBappED is an honest, open, and clear-headed exploration of education and cultural issues focused on, but not limited to, the Rochester area through a hip-hop lens.
Yeah. So to set off each show, we like to give our guests an opportunity to kind of describe themselves in their own words. Kind of a Cliff's Notes version. What you're up to, what you do professionally or otherwise, what makes you tick in a nice succinct fashion.
A word. Okay. Well, I can try to speak for the group. People have talked about the group like we have 3 people here today, but normally we're like a 9-piece group, and like basically we have like full rhythm section, full horns, and like my goal with the ensemble was to have kind of just like the most just kind of like in your face banging, beats, and like giving people like a license to just like cut loose and party, you know what I mean, like vibe. So people have described us as like James Brown hip hop, or like Prince hip hop. I don't know, is that accurate? What do you guys think?
I've definitely called it James Brown hip hop before. It's definitely funky, instrumental, but also you hear that hip hop influence in the back there.
Word.
He's like, y'all got that. That's what's up. So, like me, my name is Bushido Garvey, which is the Japanese. Bushido is the Japanese code of conduct for samurais, right? You have a name, or you guys collectively have a name that pays homage to Japanese history and martial arts. So, as an icebreaker sort of question that represents the things that we do at BoomBappED, please name a favorite artist that has a martial arts based name. Right, that you may have, a favorite martial arts based movie, and a favorite martial arts text if you have one.
All right, okay. Favorite movie, I would say.
And it could be a collective answer too. If it was like, oh man, I don't know no martial arts text. Like, there's one of us, maybe one of us. So it could be a collective answer.
The obvious for me is Wu-Tang Clan.
Yep.
Duh. Enter the Dragon. Killer. But really, like Enter the Dragon, yes, is like a thing, but more so for me, like Samurai Champloo, or like Afro Samurai, or Cowboy Bebop, right? We all check out shit like hardcore. That's more our thing, and I think for us, it's like one of those cultural things where it's like we probably, I grew up kind of watching kung fu movies like after the fact, watching like 36 Chambers and stuff and that shit, because I wanted to watch it, and but mostly like growing up, like I grew up watching Dragon Ball like hard, you know what I mean, like I watched all that, you know what I mean, and like I was mad into that. So wait, was there another part of the question?
Oh yeah, the text, any martial arts text.
I don't have any text.
Okay.
I'll
Gucci.
I'll double down on TV shows to make up for the text, man. 20th
Maybe a book
century.
about Dragon Ball Z.
I had a great How to Draw Dragon Ball Characters book as a kid.
Word, I was definitely obsessed with drawing Dragon Ball Z characters too.
So y'all, the 3 of you all came out of Eastman, products of the Eastman School, right?
Yes. Yeah, and as well as basically everybody else in the band. We're working with different people now. Some people are going to NAS right now, or recently graduated from NAS as well. But mostly, the group is Eastman people. Yeah.
Okay. So what would your response be to folks who say that you don't need any formal education to be a accomplished and talented artist? And on the flip side, what would your response be to someone who says the opposite, that one is in fact necessary to be an accomplished and talented artist?
I'm just going to pass the mic to Max real quick. I'll let him take this one because I don't know. I just feel like you would have a good thing to say about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that pretty much every musician I look up to over the history of... Well, Nick, you're classical specifically. Yeah. Well, Blake and I and a lot of the band are jazz majors. We're jazz majors at Eastman. And...
Why, Nick? Why?
I mean, the majority of my heroes in jazz history, none of them had, formal, collegiate educations, let alone even like necessarily like a preparatory education. I mean, it really comes down to your dedication to practicing, and even like people talk about as well with, if you're getting into a conservatory or if you're like gonna make it as just a professional musician, that you also need like talent that you're born with. And I don't really believe that either. I think that it's really just hard work at the end of the day. I mean, you think about Charlie Parker, the biggest name in jazz history, Cowboy Bebop, and I mean, he practiced an absurd amount of hours every day, throughout his career. He never stopped. So train everybody, so yeah, I don't think there could be an argument against that. So but here we are all in college. But I mean, nowadays I think it's just a little different. It's kind of, there's some sort of like a high school to college to professional pipeline. People make kind of, well, they talk about cookie cutter musicians and whatever coming out of school, but you do graduate with a lot of connections, and you can move anywhere and have this, for us, this Eastman base of grads that have moved everywhere. So there's a lot of benefits to school, and I learned a lot. I'm not knocking it whatsoever, but I definitely don't think that you have to do one or the other. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Max says, and I really think that at the end of the day, it kind of comes down to like what you are trying to do and what your goals are. You know what I mean? So like for me, like I think Eastman helped me a lot with like, okay, like getting shreddy at guitar. You know what I mean? Like, okay, I can shred. Like, great.
Just because of the practice that was required at Eastman?
Yeah, because it's like, okay, you have to be able to like read this down now, or like pain or whatever. I don't know what the consequences are, but it's like, don't mess up is the feeling. But anyways, and then like your aural skills get really good, and that's a cool thing too, where like you can hear, like I can hear this music playing here and just be like, we all can do that, and like just like be like, boom, there it is. I know we know what this
right
is.
Into key and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. And it's cool. So like that stuff is cool, but like there's a bunch of stuff right now where I feel like on the cutting edge of music production, music making and stuff like that, it's kind of just like, I feel like anyone who puts in the time is like has just as much of a chance, because there's not really any programs that are even out for it. Like my case in point being that like jazz education, right, took like a long time to get into the kind of like mix of conservatory education and be like a thing. And even now, right, it's kind of like we're a small department in Eastman. Like the jazz department is like small, like little group of people, and then it's like they're like, or every classical department, like the violin department is like probably double or triple the size. I don't know that exactly, but it's like it's huge compared to like the jazz department, and it's just one instrument, because it's like that's the thing. And so I guess what I'm saying is like other things, like if you're trying to do like I've focused a lot on like hip hop production and like, or just production in general, like, and being like doing that AME type stuff or audio music engineering type work. Right. And it's like that stuff is like just a different bag, I feel like, altogether, where if you're trying to do production and you're trying to do that kind of thing, it's kind of hard to go to school for that, because it's like there's just no program. So like for me, I knew like I had this kind of like propriety, you know what I mean, in my like life and like sense of like, oh, like I need to go to college if I want to do something, you know what I mean? Like that was my like 18-year-old me like idea. So the easiest thing was for me to just be like, okay, I want to do music, so I'm going to go to music school. I play guitar, like let's get good at guitar and let's just see where that kind of takes me. You know what I mean? It wasn't like yeah, so all the other things, like experimenting with like my voice and like writing rhymes and like making beats and like definitely making professional connections, like business networking, marketing, doing any of that kind of stuff was like kind of like didn't like that was me trying to get that, you know what I mean? And so it's like in that sense I feel like I have definitely going to school gives you the opportunities to like be around people where it's like I was like, oh, I want to do marketing stuff. Let me try to take a marketing class or get to know some of these marketing professors, whatever, like that kind of thing. But it definitely gives you more resources for sure. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, it's like your dedication to whatever it is you're doing and your kind of focus on what your goals are going to be what set you apart. Because I know a ton of kids who go to Eastman and it's like they're great players and stuff and they do the classes, but they don't really. It's like they just don't really have like a clear vision of what they want to do after school, or even with that degree, they're kind of like it's like a safety net right now. You know what I mean for them, and it's cool. That's fine. You know, that's how it goes. But yeah, so both are definitely valid. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant there.
Nick, you got anything for us?
I think you covered the bases, man.
All right.
Yeah. I really just went for it on that one.
No. I mean, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm sure the listeners learned a lot from that, because that's I think a lot of people kind of wrestle with that concept of like, do I have to go to school, or if I do go to school, how do I reap the most benefits? So thank y'all for touching on that. And I didn't know, I don't know if us three knew that the jazz department was small because the output in the community in Rochester is sizable, right? So yeah, like, so to imagine it being small is like, I just wouldn't even thought. But, like, as a result of the output being what it is, Rochester is like very jazz rich, and it's also very hip hop rich, right? Your band, Claude Bennington, these bands like represent that richness of like the fusion piece too, of when those two things come together. And as you guys know, hip hop has always had a heavy jazz influence from the beginning. So I'd like to hear from you guys, like, what are some things that you guys feel that jazz is the elder art form taught hip hop?
They've learned a lot from each other, though. I think it's definitely gone both ways. But no, well, you start.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of let me phrase this correctly. Jazz being an influence on hip hop, right? Well, I think definitely if you're looking at earlier sampling, you know what I mean? Like if you're looking at like Tribe Called Quest, right? Okay, or you're looking at I'm showing my hip hop weakness, but who's the people who do what's that song that goes no, I forget the band now. I can't even think of the song. But anyways, there's like Tribe Called Quest, or the other people sampling jazz and stuff like that. I think that is a totally dope thing that happened. I mean, we clearly kind of got away from that in other eras of hip hop, you know what I mean? But I don't know. I think largely like I always equate the change in styles of hip-hop to the change in styles of jazz, you know what I mean? Kind of going from, like, swing to bebop to, like, post-bop or hard bop to, like, these other schools, like fusion, you know what I mean? Being, like, similar things where it's, like, jazz is an established language, you know what I mean? You can say, that's what people always say, like, at school. They're like, oh, like, think about it as, like, a language. And, like, they always say, like, if someone's, like, improvising and, like, they're just making up stuff that doesn't make sense, it's like, okay, they're like making up words. It's like you're just speaking gibberish at someone. But so I guess what I'm trying to say with that is that like jazz as a style like evolved, the phrasing evolved, the like rhythmic cadence and structure evolved over time, you know what I mean, to like change with the times. And I think in a lot of ways rap mirrors that same thing, you know what I mean, where it's like there's obvious changes in style and cadence where it's like a lot of like, if you go back to the 90s, like you see so many like, I forget what those are called, like Vox like videos. You guys see those on like YouTube where it's like what the new rhythm in hip hop, and it's like the triplet, you know, because like now every rapper's like da 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 yeah, and then it's like but I mean, so, and it's not that that's bad, it's just like a change in flow and a change in texture, you know, a change in rhythmic feel, and I think that like mirrors a lot like what happened in like swing music to bebop, you know, where it's like swing eighth notes, and it's a more subtle thing, you know what I mean, but like swing eighth notes to like more straight like bebop eighth notes, right? Am I talking about you? Yeah, anybody else have anything to say?
Yeah, because I know you were originally...
I don't want to be commentating the whole thing.
Oh, well, I mean, definitely harmonically. I mean, you think about like chords that are used in hip hop, and it's like just a lot of stuff that I mean, thanks to sampling for the most part, but then also, you know, like production too. I mean, I think Glasper has had a large influence both ways. Like, obviously he like pulled a lot from hip hop, and then it kind of like hip hop like kind of responded to that, which was cool. And then like a lot of jazz musicians and other fusion artists have done the same with that, which is, it's cool. I love it. Whenever I hear something where it's like, oh, they combined that and that. Like you were talking, Blake was describing like This Is America, how it kind of mashes up this like trap beat and then this like choir, and then it's not until the end where they're like simultaneous, and it's like such a great fusion, like in juxtaposition of different things, which is, though we do a lot of wedding gigs, and I had to learn this song last weekend that was like some country artist like singing over like more of like a trap beat, and it was like really? It was actually just uncomfortable for the most part. Really.
Yeah. I like to see that. I'll have to check that. No, it's not worth the check out.
Don't check it out, man.
It's actually pretty interesting seeing the fusion of jazz and hip hop now, because 20 years ago, whatever, there was sampling going on, Diggable Planets and people like that and whatnot, and now you have musicians playing the stuff out, a la Glasper and a couple other folks who were kind of revisiting that, but actually playing the stuff out live, you know?
Yeah. No, I know. I think that's so sick. I mean, like for me, that's like, I feel like that's one of our big kind of like thing that isolates us in some ways, and I think later on will be like a more dope thing, but now it's like weird in some ways for us, because like we are a 9-piece band, so it's like that's a big band, and then we do like hip hop stuff, so there's a lot of hip hop artists who do like that I know in town, and they like do like DJ and then them, you know what I mean? And I've done those sets too, and it's like, and it's cool, yeah, it's dope, but it's like a lot of times it's like weird to make that bill work, and not that I don't want to do it, but like they don't want to do it, because it's like a weird transition to be like, okay, DJ and then rapper, and then like, okay, now we got to set up a full band. It goes from being like the DJ, like easy setup, you know, like to kind of like, okay, now we got to set up a 9-piece band in here. Like that's one of the larger setups you'd have to do in general. So, yeah, so that kind of is a weird dichotomy for us, where it's like we're kind of like, okay, we do hip hop for sure, you know what I mean? But it's like, yeah, I don't know, it's just weird, because then sometimes on the other end with like jazzier bands, you know what I mean, we don't always fit in with them because they're a little bit more like relaxed, maybe, you know what I mean, or not. So like you can be like a sitting audience and enjoy that music, but like we're definitely a kind of band where like you have to be kind of like standing and engaged, like party type vibe, you know what I mean, to like get into it. So yeah, so it's a weird kind of middle ground right now, I feel like we're in, you know what I mean, where we're like the big band, and yeah, either way, I don't know.
Yeah.
So yo, fellas, you guys, Redbeard Samurai, Bushido Garvey over here, and the other part of the bill coming up, Kikamura, you all have, for that show coming up at Funk and Waffles, of course, on the 4th of July, all three of you have Japanese derived or inspired names. I don't, as far as I can tell, no one here is Japanese. So
well, my great let me stop. Not even.
Still waiting for the Ancestry.com results.
So where would you all draw the line between homage and appropriation?
That is a question I get asked all the time.
Yeah, that goes for all of y'all, including Garvey.
Yeah, you want to start? Okay.
You the guest.
Oh, okay. It's on the floor's on me. No. No, I mean, for me, it's always been one of those things. I really think it depends. It just depends on the audience, frankly. I mean, because there's been many situations where people are like, oh, like, dope name, Redbeard Samurai, you know what I mean? And then especially in the college crowd where it's like PC Culture 101, you know what I mean? It's like anything that can kind of even remotely be seen as like appropriation is, you know what I mean? So, and I think I always just try to put myself in different, I don't know, situations and kind of like think about like what the context is. I hope I don't talk myself into a corner here, but essentially, like, I mean, I don't know, for me, I'm not coming at any of this stuff trying to like, I don't know, assume like the culture. And for me, I feel like I grew up seeing a lot of the stuff, like we were talking about, seeing Dragon Ball, watching a bunch of anime, and for me, like that's where I'm coming from with that kind of paying homage, you know what I mean? It's like I grew up watching those shows as kids too, so it's not like, I don't know, it's just odd because it's like I feel like there's it varies in context, you know what I mean? Like what's okay and what's not okay. So for example, right, like let's take a show like Afro Samurai, right? Okay, Afro Samurai is like Jizza does the music and Samuel L. Jackson does all the voices, and you can guarantee that like a bunch of other people on the staff like are not Japanese, right? I watched that show. I do not think anything remotely bad about like them. I'm not like Samuel L. Jackson. I can't believe he's ripping off this culture. Man comes in here, gets their culture, takes it from them. You know, because in my opinion, I think like in a lot of ways, like the way globalization is going and the way the world's going, like really like we're slowly evolving to like a monoculture anyways, you know what I mean? Where like there really is like, I mean, I don't know if I'm like talking out like, you know, anyways, but like I feel like culturally we're all coming to like one place, you know what I mean? We're like, okay, so for example, like I just did a hit on Monday with like a bunch of Germans. They all speak English. Like if they're in any situation where they like English is like the fundamental language they will speak if they're in some other situation. So that's just one example, I guess what I'm saying. But if anything, I guess what I'm trying to say with that is that like as the monoculture like grows and expounds like to a bigger thing, I think expressing other people's cultures is only going to be looked at as like paying homage because I think that it's a dope culture, you know what I mean? And it's like I think that otherwise it's like, not to say it will be lost, but like it will definitely not be as promoted as it would be. So I see it as like free publicity if anything, you know what I mean, for like that kind of thing, especially as we like evolve or devolve into like this like one kind of like overall thing. Is that just me who thinks that?
Well, I think that with hip hop, there's a truth in what you're saying, where hip hop has transcended a lot of different social barriers and demographics, right? I think because of artists like Wu-Tang, it really, and just the fact that New York City kung fu flicks at that time were a huge part of urban culture, period. And so to have that kind of just trickle into hip hop and then have hip hop spread out and just have hip hop be such a universal language, it's easy to have a lot of different ideas meld and weld together without necessarily feeling like a culture vulture about it. But at the same time, hip hop operates as a culture within a greater racial caste system, right? So there still has to be this awareness of how you maneuver with somebody else's culture. So for me, when I call myself Bushido Garvey, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm calling myself because I honor that culture since I've been in high school and I like those ideas. But at the same time, I have to make sure I'm not going too crazy with appropriating it, like adopting even more stuff or just not even being sensitive to whatever is current in Japanese culture, just having a current awareness of the history of the culture. And then that allows me to kind of feel more comfortable because I know I'm not necessarily just taking it, exploiting it, but I've adopted it out of reverence and I continue to use it out of reverence. And I got other things about who I am in my music and in my name, like the Garvey piece, right? That re-blackifies it.
for sure. But can I say something on that though?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think I totally agree with what you're saying, and I think that for me, that's kind of the point I'm trying to get at, where it's like you're saying like, okay, I have a line that I kind of draw in the sand. I don't want to go past this line, or I think then I'm appropriating, right? But there are other people whose line we are already appropriating, right? So it's like, I guess what I've kind of come to terms with is that like, there are always going to be people on either side of that like fence who like either see it as one thing or the other, and as much as I try to persuade people one way or the other, I'm not going to be able to like win everyone over in that. So all I can know is where I'm coming from with it and be genuine with like myself and like what I'm trying to do with it, you know what I mean? And other than that, it's like kind of all speculation, because like I said, I have people on both sides of the spectrum who are like, oh man, dope name, super cool, definitely not in any way weird, like at all, I don't think anything weird about it. And then the other kind of people who are like, well, you know, like that's appropriation. And I'm like, well, you are not Irish and you ate an Irish pub the other day, you know what I mean? Like, that's like way down farther down the rabbit hole. But you know what I mean? But seriously, like, I mean, that's the kind of stuff I'm trying to say, where it's like, okay, like that's just one example, right? Where there's like I worked at an Asian restaurant growing up. I didn't think anything about it. I was just trying to make a buck, you know what I mean? But it's like, is that also appropriation because I'm like working at an Asian restaurant? I don't know. But there are people who would say that is, you know what I mean? So. I don't know. Just
I don't know. Just keep me out this one.
I know. I'm like going too far down the rabbit hole. It's like I guess what I'm trying to say is where's the line? You know?
Yeah. No, and this is a great conversation for sure. So we're running lower on time. So if we could, we'd like to hop right in this activity called A-side, B-side. It's real simple, just like a cassette, right? There's A-side to things, and there's a B-side to things. A good and bad, a beneficial and really inconvenient. So we're gonna send off a couple of topics your way, and we want you to tell us what the A-side and B-side of these topics are.
Nick, you can start.
Yes, please.
I'm in the hot seat.
All right.
So
I have Nick in the cipher. Yes.
Hey, man.
We're going to give you a toughie right off the bat,
Oh,
Nick.
no.
And you have to freestyle it.
No, thanks.
Keeping with current events, give us the A-side and the B-side to the Rochester Jazz Fest.
The A-side is that there's a ton of really great music happening all around the city, and the city has a lot of life to it in the summer with the Jazz Festival. The B-side might be that it's a little overcrowded and the food is expensive. But it's good, though.
Thoughts, y'all?
Want to flip the next one?
Yeah. He's about to add
Oh, okay. Well,
for A-side, B-side, Rochester Jazz.
yeah, I'll do a quick one. Oh God.
Things fall apart here at BoomBappED.
I think A-side's good, right?
Yep.
Okay. A-side, people are enjoying jazz 1 week out of the year. That's great. B-side, sorry, that's a little. Well, the B-side is that, like, honestly, I mean, we've all gotten called for more gigs this 1 week because people are like, oh, I'm having a cocktail party. Oh, I'm having a random thing. Jazz this one time out of the year, and we work the rest of the year, sure. And then also with that is like, it's kind of absurd. I mean, Eastman's downtown, so we're downtown a lot. There's like nothing downtown for most of the year. And then like, and even if you go during the day, there's still not a lot of people. But like after 5 p.m., it's like all of a sudden, here's all these people from the suburbs or wherever. So
And
it's just interesting. And
we were talking about that line, right, of appropriation versus like, homage and appreciation. I wonder sometimes how much Jazz Fest crosses the line. You know what I'm saying? Because to your point, there's nothing going on. And then when you go through the Jazz Fest, it's like it's nothing but recently I feel like it's gotten more color, but it's like a lot of white people, not even just white people that I'll see around the city, just like, wait, I don't know your kind, where'd you come from? Obviously I say that in joking, but like that's exactly what happened. It was like, whoa, where did all this come from? You know what I'm saying? So, but high production equipment, A-side, B-side.
Whoa. Like high production equipment. I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion on it, to be honest. I use Machine. Yeah, personally.
A-side, B-side for Machine.
Okay, Machine. Dude, okay, I can go in all day on talking about Machine. Machine is by Native Instruments, for anyone who wants to know. Come out. No, I'm just kidding.
No, not here. Don't get us kicked off here.
No. Don't buy this product specifically. No, I'm just kidding. But no, A-side, I would say about Machine from other DAWs I've used. Like I've used like Logic and other things like that. And I'm thinking about getting what's the one? Ableton. Yeah, I'm thinking about getting Ableton. But like the thing about Machine that's dope is that like, for me it came with like a huge bank of samples that like were super top notch, and then like I was able to also sample stuff like in a way that I hadn't been able to before, and use effects in such an intuitive, like plugins I should say, in such an intuitive way that it was just like mad effective and really easy to like generate loop based music, which at the time was like the main thing I was trying to do, because it's like all the stuff I was listening to was like clearly just loops, you know what I mean? And I would say the B-side is that like for me it's pretty hard to like make music that like isn't loop based in Machine. Like it's like you kind of need to just use a different DAW. If I'm like the other day I recorded Max and this trumpet player in the band Emil playing like a little interlude, and like for that it's kind of like free jazz type music, so it's like there's not like I just went to Logic for that because it records more flat out, like straight across, like Pro Tools style, kind of recording. So if you're trying to make loops and like do that kind of thing, perfect. If you're trying to like record like other type stuff, it's not as great, I would say.
Word up. Well, we're at time, man. We might have to talk about doing part 1s and part 2s a little bit more. Yo, Redbeard Samurai. I'll see you on the 4th because that's when we're performing at
Yes.
Funkin' Waffles.
Yes, that'll be dope with Kiki Mora.
With Kikimora. That's
Yeah.
right. Welcome, Kikimora from El Paso, Texas. The JB Dojo. Thank you guys for coming through. Congratulations on your Eastman graduations and congratulations on reaching your senior year. I know it's not easy over there for y'all, so thank y'all for your musical contributions to the city and thank y'all for coming through.
Yeah, man. Thanks
Appreciate
for having
y'all.
us. Yeah, no,
Indeed.
it's been a blast.
Yes,
Right.
you are listening to 104.3 Wayo FM. You can catch us every Tuesday from 1:30 to 2. I finally got the time right. You can also catch us online. Check us out on Facebook. Peace.
Peace.